Hey guys, Marcel here from theScore eSports with my former coach, analyst or whatever you were 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Tony, Zikzlol. So first uh, phase of the tournament is done. You guys are facing Flash Wolves in the upcoming match. What do you think of like going into this match and how are you gonna prepare, like from a draft maybe or from a mindset? Because you guys had like a pretty decent showing so far at this tournament.
So how we're going to prepare? We're probably going to prepare just like any other opponent. We're pretty confident going into Flash Wolves, especially because Flash Wolves, we 2-0'd them in the group stage or in the round robin rather. So I think that was our best like possible opponent to play against. So yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty solid game for us.
So assuming you actually gonna win against Flash Wolves, who would you rather face in the finals, SKT or RNG? Who do you think is like the better of the two teams if they actually play in their form?
I feel like SKT is probably the opponent we would wish to have because they're kind of having trouble finding their place right now, like finding their footing. I feel like they're testing a lot of different stuff. Actually, like since they came to this tournament, they started with really high Sivir priority, completely dropped that off. They have really high Rise priority, which is still pretty good, but they still just don't know what to do necessarily with a lot of their picks. So I think we would rather play against SKT, but I think RNG is the more likely to win.
Okay, so coming into this year, you had like a bit of a rebuild as a roster, right? And this has been like the best international tournament that CLG had probably in quite a few years, I think, in maybe season one, but that doesn't count, right? So, yeah. So, what do you think, like going into the splits, like last split, and coming here to this tournament? Do you think like you actually are finally clicking and everyone is finding their place, or do you think that overall the quality of gameplay here at this tournament is rather low?
Well, I do feel like this roster is probably like the most ideal, like the best iteration of like CLG's roster that has ever existed. I think everybody on the team really understands their place. Nobody is really like, I guess, solo carry-ish. People don't ever feel like, they need to be the one that carries the game. It just kind of happens within the game, that one person pops off here, person pops off here. It's happened with like every single player on our team. So, yeah.
Okay. So one of your players actually had like a surprisingly really strong showing. Stixxay is completely going wild in the group stage. So what happened between playoffs and now between him? Did he just come in with like a different mindset? Do you think that maybe in North America he had like a bit of a mindset block against like TSM or something? And coming into this tournament, you guys actually practiced and saw, okay, those teams are actually not that good and we can actually beat every single team here?
I feel like the two playoff matches that we played, it was like really, really good for Trevor's confidence. And I feel like he's a player that is very, very focused on like confidence. When he feels like he's better than everyone, he will play like he's better than everyone. And it's definitely shown that he feels like he's the strongest AD at this tournament. So he will definitely play like he's the strongest AD at this tournament.
Okay. And about playstyle, it's like your area for CLG, right? So CLG has been known as the split push team. I mean, you played like 17 out of 18 games in the split with like split push, dash and everything. And then coming to this tournament, it kind of shifted around to like team fighting. But everyone expected you guys to not really have the strongest team fighting. But what actually changed? Like, why are we not seeing like split push that much? Or do you think it's just a lot of misplays right now in the 1-3-1 meta where teams are just making like a lot of mistakes basically?
I feel like initially we started with like being a 4-1 type team. Eventually, transitioning over to 1-3-1 as it's like a bit better than 4-1. And then from that, I think our reactive team fighting became just like the best among like all NA teams, amongst like even a lot of international teams that we play against, especially at this tournament. So I think eventually we just shifted like to a place where we can play like a bunch of different styles. Like we can play 1-3-1 if it comes up that we have a 1-3-1 comp. If we have a team fight comp, we can play to that strength as well. And I feel like, yeah, we are just like the best at reacting right now.
So you're the best at reacting. You have a bunch of different styles. How much do you think it's gonna be like in a best of 5 series where you have to adapt between games, right? Are you gonna like be confident that you guys are like really good at adapting? And I mean, it's part of your job to like adjust the draft and everything, right? So do you think that it's gonna be like really important to just say, hey, teamfight didn't work out this game and they're stronger than us. Maybe just go back to split push and then we can see an adaptation. And do you think that CLG is like really good at that right now?
Yeah, I think we can play any style and that even if we lose one game, we think about the game in a really calculated way. So if we lose a game here, the series is still winnable. So we can change and adapt based on what we play against and what we think is strongest and how our opponents play. So I think we will be also the best team here at Best of Fives.
So what I really want to know from a coach from North America is Soraka really that good? Or Jenna, it's like a North American thing, and then SKT pulled out like a Soraka. So range supports didn't really expect anyone to see at this tournament, but suddenly a lot of teams are playing it, right? So even like G2 switched over to Jenna when Hybrid made that comment, yeah, why are people playing Soraka, Jenna, and Karma? What's your take on range support versus melee supports?
I feel like range supports have their place. I wouldn't say that they are 100% like the best, especially since Alistar, you can see, has like an insane win rate this tournament. I think there's like insane Alistar players here, and pretty much if like Alistar is gone off the table, then I think Janna or Soraka or even Bard have like really good places to be like put into compositions that people didn't necessarily abuse in other regions. But North America the most, I would say, experimented with support champion pool to split.
Okay, so last question. Do you plan on going to Korea maybe after this, or are you going to take like a short break for summer split? Because this tournament is like over and then you guys fly home and 10 days later or something the split already starts. What's your take on vacation maybe?
As much as we would like to probably go to Korea and boot camp, I believe we will be taking a short break between the MSI and the regular season. This has been like a non-stop grind for us for probably, I think, 4 or 5 months. So finally to get a few days off is pretty good. Actually, before we came to MSI, we took a few days off as well. And then we still scrimmed challenger teams for about a week and a half.
So you actually scrimmed challenger teams, right?
Yeah.
And G2 were very vocal about not wanting to scrim challenger teams. Do you think that the overall quality in terms of challenger level is higher in North America than in Europe, or why do you think that a team would make that decision to not practice at all and rather just take a break?
I think it's mostly just poor mentality, to be honest, because I feel like you make of practice pretty much like what you want to make of practice. So if you think that you can only be as good as your opponent, then you're never going to be the best, right? You have to always strive to be better, and simply just taking a long break, it's not going to cut it.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it, sadly, for Europe. Europe is out right now, but we still have North America CLG representing the West, hoping for the final, of course. And yeah, thank you so much for that interview. Always a pleasure. And if you guys want to check out more interviews, we have them covered at theScoreEsports.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, and we have an app. Download it, have fun with it, and see you guys next time.